Hello everyone, welcome to Brain Blitz Audios. Today we are going to read the story The Great Adventure, which is about a little girl named Totto-Chan who encouraged a differently abled boy to climb a tree. Let's begin, shall we? The students at Tomoe each had a tree in the school ground. They considered it as their own climbing tree. Totto-Chan's tree stood on the edge of the school ground near the fence. It was a large tree and slippery to climb. But if you climbed it skillfully, you could get to a fork about 6 feet from the ground. The fork was as comfortable as a hammock. Totto-Chan used to climb there during recess and after school. She would sit on the fork and look into the distance or at the sky, or watch the people pass by. The children considered their trees their own private property. If you wanted to climb someone else's tree, you had to seek their permission very politely, saying, "Excuse me, may I come in?" Yasuaki-Chan had polio. He had never climbed a tree, so he couldn't claim any tree as his own. That is why Totto-Chan decided to invite him to her tree. They kept it a secret. They thought people would create a fuss if they knew. When she left home, Totto-Chan told her mother that she was going to visit Yasuaki-Chan at his home. She was telling a lie, so she tried not to look at mother. She kept her eyes on her shoelaces. Rocky, her dog, followed her to the station. When they parted company, she told Rocky the truth. "I'm going to let Yasuaki-Chan climb my tree." When Totto-Chan reached school, she found Yasuaki-Chan waiting in the school ground. He was only a year older than Totto-Chan, but he always sounded much older when he spoke. When Yasuaki-Chan saw Totto-Chan, he hurried toward her, dragging his leg and holding his arms out in front to steady himself. Totto-Chan was thrilled to think they were going to do something secret, and she giggled. Yasuaki-Chan giggled too. Totto-Chan led Yasuaki-Chan to her tree. Then she ran to the nearby shed and got a ladder. She dragged it over to the tree and leaned it against the trunk so that it reached the fork. She climbed up quickly and, holding the top of the ladder, called down, "All right, try climbing up." Yasuaki-Chan's arms and legs were very weak. It seemed he could not even get on the first rung without help. Totto-Chan hurried down the ladder and tried pushing Yasuaki-Chan up from behind. Yasuaki-Chan took his foot off the bottom rung. He stood beside the ladder with his head bowed. Totto-Chan realized that it was going to be very difficult. What should she do? She longed to have Yasuaki-Chan climb her tree. He was also looking forward to it. She went around and faced him. He looked tearless. Totto-Chan puffed out her cheeks and made a funny face to cheer him up. "Wait, I've got an idea." Totto-Chan ran back to the shed and pulled out many things, one after another. She was looking for something that would help her. She finally discovered a stepladder. It would remain steady, so she wouldn't have to hold it. She dragged the stepladder over to the tree. She was amazed at her own strength. She was happy to find that the ladder almost reached the fork. "Now, don't be afraid," she said in a big, sisterly voice. "This isn't going to wobble." Yasuaki-Chan looked nervously at the step ladder. Then he looked at Totto-Chan. She was drenched in perspiration. Yasuaki-Chan was sweating too. He looked up at the tree. Then, with determination, he placed a foot on the first rung. They were not aware of the time it took Yasuaki-Chan to reach the top of the stepladder. The hot summer sun beat down, but they thought only about going to the top of the stepladder. Totto-Chan followed him, lifting his feet up. Yasuaki-Chan struggled with all his might and finally reached the top. Hooray! Totto-Chan jumped onto the fork, but she couldn't get Yasuaki-Chan onto the tree from the stepladder. She wanted so badly to have Yasuaki-Chan onto her tree. She wanted to show all sorts of things. Clutching the stepladder, Yasuaki-Chan looked at Totto-Chan. She suddenly felt like crying. But she didn't cry. She feared that if she did, Yasuaki-Chan might start crying too. She took hold of his hand. It was bigger than hers, and his fingers were longer too. They were all stuck together because of the polio. She held his hand for a long time. Then she said, "Lie down. I'll try to pull you over." If any grown-ups had seen the scene, they would have let out a scream. But Yasuaki-Chan trusted Totto-Chan completely. Totto-Chan was risking her life for him. With her tiny hands clutching his, she pulled with all her might. From time to time, a large cloud would mercifully protect them from the blistering sun. At last, the two stood face to face on the tree, brushing her damp hair back. Totto-Chan bowed politely to him and said, "Welcome to my tree." Yasuaki-Chan leaned against the trunk, smiling rather bashfully, and said, "May I come in?" Yasuaki-Chan was able to see vistas he had never glimpsed before. "So this is what it's like to climb a tree," he said happily. They stayed on the tree for a long time and talked about all sorts of things. "My sister in America says they've got something there called television," said Yasuaki-Chan with enthusiasm. "She says that when it comes to Japan, we'll be able to sit at home and watch sumo wrestling. She says it's like a box." She simply wondered how sumo wrestlers could get inside a box in your own houses. Sumo wrestlers are so big, but it was fascinating all the same. In those days, nobody knew about television. Yasuaki-Chan was the first to tell Totto-Chan about it. The sisters were singing and the two children were so happy. And for Yasuaki-Chan, it was the first and last time he ever climbed a tree. And that's the end of the story, which is taken from Totto-Chan, the Little Girl at the Window by Tetsuko Kuroyanagi and translated by Dorothy Britton. We hope you found it interesting. For more useful videos, please subscribe to our channel, Brain Blitz Audios. We have uploaded many stories here at Brain Blitz Audios. Some of the links are given in the description down below. Please do visit the links and enjoy more stories. See you soon. Bye bye.